It's a good thing I'm addicted to the mountains and not, heroin like your sister. These 17 words were uttered to me by my boyfriend of over a year and a half on vacation in Colorado. He was a landscape photographer who would frequently travel to remote or extreme locations to shoot, and I think he liked the idea of having a human accessory to pass the time. And this might sound like an unforgiving view of the reality, but it is really not. It's a good thing I'm addicted to the mountains. His parents were a doctor and a librarian. He grew up in North Oaks, which is one of the highest income cities in the entire United States. Once my mother joked with him about how we, when we were kids, used to put olives on our fingers at Thanksgiving and say that we looked like aliens, and he told her, "Oh yeah, I used to do that too when I was a kid, but we would always have crab legs." Mm-hmm. We took my nephew tubing at Buck Hill for his birthday one year, and he was like maybe turning 10, and he was in awe at the size of the hill, people zipping down, and my ex said, "This is nothing like actual skiing. I went to the Swiss Alps when I was like 8, and this place sucks, no offense." I once more wore a miniskirt. I'm just really not used to dating the kind of girl that wears miniskirts, no offense. "What kind of girl are you used to dating?" I asked. Like smart, bookish girls. So I went to college and graduate school for 9 years. I've edited actual published books. I have written actual published poetry. And after an hour or two, he decided to check in. "Are you really still mad about that?" And not, heroin like your sister. My baby sister joined the National Guard when she was 16 and deployed to Kuwait in 2010 at the age of 21. She joined because my mother and father had both served, and like many youngest children, she worshipped her parents. While she was deployed, my sister was assaulted and harassed by a number of different men in her unit. She suffered a traumatic brain injury. When she returned home, she began drinking heavily. Often she would harm herself and was frequently held against her will at psychiatric hospitals. I once brought her my favorite pair of sweatpants to wear at the hospital, and when I got there, they made me cut out the drawstring. She switched from alcohol to heroin in June of 2014, 4 months after expressing her earnest disappointment in me for smoking weed for the first time ever at the age of 26 while in Seattle for a writing conference. Within the span of months, she went from having never used drugs to smoking and then snorting and then shooting heroin. Addicted to the mountains. I moved to Minneapolis from Fargo after finishing my master's degree in April of 2014. I'd been mostly away from my family for those 9 years, sometimes visiting as infrequently as every 4 or 5 months. And I met a landscape photographer right before I moved back, who was decidedly not like my most recent ex, a very handsome sociopath who cheated on me on my birthday. This new guy was an artist with long hair and ripped jeans that cost $400. Sometimes, when he was too lazy to go grocery shopping, he would eat dehydrated camp meals. He never cleaned his bathroom, and he was a vegetarian. No offense. We moved in together after about a year, and a couple months later, we went on this vacation to Colorado so that he could work on his portfolio. Our trip led us to Trail Ridge Road in Rocky Mountain National Park, the highest altitude continuously paved road in the United States. It was May, and the snow at the top of the mountain was 12 feet high. We listened to Pearl Jam on the satellite radio instead of talking because it was the only station we could agree on. It was here that he told me about his addiction, while I was half-stooped getting into the rental car. We never said we loved each other in 15 months. I asked him if I could move out after we broke up, and he said no. Like your sister. My sister confided in me that she had started shooting heroin and made me promise not to tell our mom. I promised, hung up, and immediately called my mother. My sister has overdosed twice. She stopped breathing, she was dead. 2 separate times. She was administered Narcan both times and was released hours later. My sister went to jail more than a dozen times in 4 years. My sister went to treatment 9 times in 4 years. My sister tried to quit heroin probably 100 times in 4 years. My sister has complex PTSD. She has borderline personality disorder, an illness wherein 20% of sufferers attempt suicide and 9% of people with BPD are successful, a rate higher than in the general population by 50 times. My sister is a veteran who has experienced homelessness. My sister is funny. My sister had abs at one point. I don't know if you know how hard that is. It's fucking hard. My little sister is kind and generous and the first person to laugh at your joke. My little sister bought me a stuffed pig at a garage sale with her own money when she was 7 because she knew it was my favorite animal. My sister will sing any duet with you at karaoke. She has the most beautiful eyes. They're gold in the middle and brown and then green on the outside. My sister found our father dead when his heart stopped beating after he snuck some of her opioid cessation medication. My ex sent me a message of condolence as follows verbatim. That awkward moment when you unblock a person and curiosity takes over and you see a loss in their universe, despite all my anguish and frustration back then, I'm sorry for your loss. He was an asshole, but he loved you in his own maligned way. I'm glad you've gotten yourself in a better place. You've earned it. He was an asshole. Gotten yourself in a better place. You've earned it. This was 10 days after my dad's funeral. The mountains. Fuck the mountains. You are not addicted to the mountains. You will not sell your body to get access to the mountains. You will not steal money from your parents' wallets to look upon the mountains. You will not total your father's car because you passed out while driving from too many mountains. You will not lose your job because you've been vomiting into the trash can on the sales floor at work from withdrawal symptoms after just a few short hours without the mountains flowing through your veins. You will say harmful things because of your mountain addiction. You'll cost yourself relationships. You'll be kicked out of your apartment, and you will maybe move into a storage unit despite receiving thousands of dollars a month in support from your rich old parents. You'll be ruthlessly, viciously hated. You are very lucky that your addiction will not cost you more than this. Your sister. My sister gave birth to a baby boy in March of 2018. He was kept for a week under observation while he was weaned off my sister's therapeutic dosage of opioid cessation medication. Several police officers who had come to know and care for my sister during her graceful and elegant navigation of the criminal justice system would visit him in the hospital. With their guns on their hips, they would bounce him on their lap and soothe him and speak to him with the hushed reverence reserved for tiny, wrinkled, crusty babies. My sister was in jail until 2 weeks before she gave birth. She used off and on during her pregnancy, but her baby seems to be fine. And he got my dad's first name as his middle name. His name is Landon John. In some ways, he looks like my dad, bald and bluish eyes, and his eyes kind of crinkle when he smiles, and my nephew claps his hand, and he knows the difference between hey and hi, and he says thank you to his dad after he changes his diaper. My sister has not used heroin in 12 months. It is a good thing she was only addicted to heroin and not, the mountains like my ex.